Hello and welcome to Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast. Today, our special guest is Phil Horwitch, and Phil is an engineer and a co-founder of AMH Holdings, and he is in a place called Melbourne that's not Australia, it's Florida. Why do they have Florida names in Australia? What's up with that? That's kind of weird.
When I told people that I moved to Melbourne at the very beginning, they kept saying Australia, and I was like, no, that'd be more of a vacation, but it's kind of a vacation here anyways with all the palm trees going on, so it's nice.
Yeah, maybe you ought to get yourself a kangaroo and just go with it, you know?
Hey, I got a husky, so he's very close to it on that side, just as quirky.
Yeah, get a pouch for him or something. So what kind of solar projects are you engineering?
So we do all the way from starting with civil all the way through electrical engineering on that side. We're just strictly engineering and drafters, and we'll provide the site feasibility studies to all the way to IFC plan sets. Just kind of depends on what type of client that we're working with and kind of exactly what they need on that side.
Okay, so you do all kinds of engineering for all kinds of companies. And are you going with like everything from residential to utility scale, or what's your sweet spot?
Our sweet spot right now is utility. We have done some residential, but kind of got out of that, and we do it as we need to. If we get the opportunity, we'll take it. Same thing with commercial, but our bread and butter is going to be utility scale. We'll do about, I guess since now we're in 2026, can't include those, but in 2025, we did about 1 gigawatt worth of development for the entire company.
Okay, so 1 giga, that's like 1,000 million, which is a billion watts. That's pretty good.
We did a pretty good amount of work last year, so kept us pretty busy and learned a lot, and kind of just getting the momentum coming into 2026 right now on that side.
Yeah, just to put that into perspective, in about the year Y2K, 1 gigawatt was how much was installed in the whole world. You know?
I know, it's crazy. Trust me, I remember when I got started, it was when you sold or installed just a pallet of modules is a big deal, and now you're seeing these massive projects.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think of how fast the world installs 1 gigawatt now, and so it's probably less than a day. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, you're probably right around that on that side. So ours is a lot out into the future because we try to get in extremely early and provide all the studies and permitting assistance on that side. So some of the projects in that gigawatt won't be actually up on the grid until 2028 or 2029 on that side.
Yeah, they're expecting to hit 1 terawatt a year by some, estimates for the whole world installing 1 terawatt per year. And I think it was 2022 that we hit 1 terawatt in the whole world installed. And so we just keep ramping up regardless of, what goes on with politics and just one country. But solar is really ramping up and the prices are going down, and it's just kind of stupid to use other types of energy,
No, it's one of my big takeaways from RE Plus last year was that we're a very resilient industry finally, because everybody keeps trying to kick us down, and everybody wasn't that worried at RE Plus on that side. So that was my one big takeaway that I saw, is we're finally like a real industry instead of a bunch of hippies that just like sunlight.
Yeah, maybe. And I think we're getting on track for calling fossil fuels alternative energy,
Hey.
We're getting that mainstream. And if you just kind of look at it, it's most of the, energy production installed these days is solar. And if you could include energy storage too, it's not really, energy storage doesn't produce it. It just shifts it from one time to another or something like that, cleans up the grid a little bit. So it's we're there, man.
Hey, no, we're finally a real industry, so it's finally great to hear on that portion. It's taken a long time, but we finally made it.
So what are you seeing with the utility scale projects that you're doing? And do you have a range of sizes for your utility scale projects? So that you're working with, is 20 megawatts or?
No, we'll do anything. I mean, smallest project we're working on right now is we're under 1 megawatt on that side. And then we'll go upwards of, one project we worked on last year was 450 megawatts. So we don't really have a range that we like to stay and max at on that side. We just kind of look for the right clients and just kind of make it happen on that side. We're spending a lot more time on the permitting side, like educating everybody of how to get your permits done. Maybe not on the first try, because that usually never happens, but at least get it done on in the reliable side so you can actually keep on schedule and get these projects built.
And the projects that you're working on, are they mostly in Florida? Are they across the whole country? Are they across the globe?
No, basically across the entire United States. We've worked on a couple projects in like the India area and Spain area, but most of our projects are going to be located on like the East Coast and like the Virginias and upwards into Pennsylvania, New York, and then we moved here from Texas, so a lot of our bread and butter is going to be in the Texas market too on that side. Probably one of the only states that we don't hit is probably California. It's going to be one of the states that we just don't hit too hard on that side.
And why is that? Because I know California is a big market, but is it just because it's so saturated and there's a lot of competition?
There's just so many people out there, and we just decided to do our resources and spend them on different counties and states that people don't know, so we can specialize in those and kind of just inform everybody about those ones. California is where pretty much most of it was started, and there's already a lot of people, so a lot of people already know those markets, but the Georgias, Virginias, and everything like that, not a lot of people know. So we're trying to educate all these developers and owners of how to get solar there as well.
So you're going where it's growing. And I guess you could go over to Melbourne, Australia too, since you have a Melbourne,
that'd
address.
be nice.
Yeah. And then how about in Florida? Do you have many projects in Florida?
As of right now, we don't actually have any projects in Florida that are solar wise. We do some other types of engineering for like manufacturing and everything like that. And those are only Florida projects at this moment. But no, right now we don't have any solar in the works as of right now.
Well, time to change that one. So is it like, would you say like half of your business is in Texas?
Yeah, probably about 40% is in Texas and the rest of it's outside of the state. We just moved here about 6 months ago, so just kind of digging into this and reaching out to some people locally to see if they can actually happen on that side. So it's a bunch of swampland here, so you can't really, very harder to put solar here.
Well, I guess you could have a cross between floating solar and not floating solar, just
True.
a couple of piles, a couple of floats,
And instead of what the cows that we have on some of our Florida projects, you just get to hang out with the gators here.
Oh, yeah. Then you have any good gator recipes?
It is very good on that side. We do have some fried gator. I mean, outside this window right here, there's a pond that our house overlooks, and there's a big old 14-foot gator that lives in there too.
Oh yeah, I bet you're good at wrestling that.
Oh, I mean, my dog likes to think he can, but we try to stay away on that side.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Sounds a little sketchy to me.
Yeah, just a tad bit.
So with the projects that you're working on, which a lot of them are in Texas then, what are you seeing, like mostly trackers, string inverters? What are you seeing out there these days, or what, and what's in the pipeline?
Yeah, a lot of ours are going to be trackers right now. And I can probably in 2025, so last year, every year before that, we probably had about probably 80% regular solar, and then 20% was going to be battery storage. But in 2025, we definitely saw a lot more of just strictly standalone battery storage coming in line on that side. So that's probably been the biggest shift that we saw in 2025 was, hey, let's just go get a smaller piece of land and let's slap some batteries on it. And you don't have a 100-page plan set anymore. You have a 10-page plan set, which our team obviously loves as well.
Great. Okay. And so you're seeing a lot of trackers, which is kind of the way the world's doing it. Is it mostly bifacial PV too, with the captures light on both sides?
Yes, correct. Most of them, probably 80% is going to be bifacial on that side. We're working a little bit further out on some projects too. So there's some panels that, you're not even looking at, and the wattage is so high. I couldn't even believe when we got told to put these on it. And so it's kind of so far in the...
What kind of wattage are you looking at, for future projects?
Yeah, one we did a 700 watt panel on that side. So
it's pretty big, I guess, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So that's how early we're trying to get in on some projects with some of our clients.
And what's your opinion about these big PV modules? Some people call them floppy and perhaps more prone to crack or something like that. Because when you have a smaller solar module, it's kind of more firm. It's got more a larger ratio of, rail and all that, rail to area, I guess, or not rail, frame to area. And so it's the glass isn't so big as far as like the wind hitting it and stuff like that. And I see some people, complaining about that, but I don't see a whole lot of people going for smaller modules also.
No, I mean, all the nice flat land is pretty much all gone. So the big modules have to be used. But we talk about this all the time with some of our clients, is it mainly comes down to like the construction aspect of it. The bigger the module, the more people you actually have to place it on the actual tracker or fixed tilt system on that side. So you're having to hire more people, which you might have less land, but you're going to have more labor in. If you have two people having to carry this one, you're definitely going to get the big macho guys that are going to try to handle it by just picking up this big, 60-pound module by themselves and trying to carry it. And then it's just going to end up having some type of breakage on that side as well. So,
do you see options for smaller modules today?
We haven't truly. I mean, probably the smallest module.
Nobody's buying them.
No, not at all. Besides like rooftop, that's the only place that we're actually seeing the smaller ones, which makes sense because you can't really put this massive module on most roofs because of all the vents and everything like that you got going on.
Yeah, so it's interesting that you see some experts complain about the PV modules being too big for the, in some of these large projects, but then you don't see anybody doing anything smaller.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you don't really have that much land anymore. All the flat, easy projects and square ones have been gone for years. So you're having to get these big modules so you don't have to grade as much and do actually as much earthwork, but you can still get the same capacity.
Maybe we could talk a little bit more about that too. Like, why would a bigger module make you not have to do as much grading or moving the earth around?
Yeah, I mean, so if you have... For instance, I'll cut it in half. If you have a 700 watt module, that's going to take up 6 feet by 3 feet, for instance, and you're going to fit probably between like 6 and 8 modules in between like each pile to pile spacing on that side. And if you drop that down to just make it easy math at a 350 watt module, you're going to have that same like slope tolerance, like the 1 to 2%, but you're going to have to go from 7 modules to now you have to do it over that 14 modules since you're having to double that amount, but you're still having to keep that same slope between your actual piles on that side. So you're going to most likely have to do either some type of grading or do different types of pile reveals to pretty much, we like to say, make like a football field out of piles, or you actually have to make a real football field with a big dozer.
So you can have like a slope that's not as even when you have bigger and less rectangles, less bigger modules.
Correct. Yeah, because you're going to have them closer together on that side.
That's interesting. I'm trying to grasp that. Maybe you could talk a little bit more about that. Do you have any analogies?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest one that I have is kind of the football field because it's, 100 yards on that side. So just think about a full football field of 100 yards. In between that, you're going to have to keep it with your solar racking between probably 1 to 3% to make sure. So if you have a sloping football field.
Can you say 1 to 3% grade? Is that what you mean?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. So 1 to 3% grade on that entire football field. So pretty much a flat surface on that side. Where if you have an undulating football field that just goes up and down, kind of like a normal
wavy
graph.
Yeah,
like a sine wave or something like that. You're going to basically have to cut that down through the middle, and that's where you get all that additional earthwork on that side for your cut and fill to actually make it to where you have that football field that you can install on.
Okay. I guess it's good to do football analogies when you're doing a lot of work in Texas, huh? Y'all?
Yeah, obviously the helmets behind me do that. But no, that's one of the things that our big thing for 2026 at AMH is we're trying to like simplify things in the industry to make it a little bit easier for the regular person to understand on that side. So that's one of our big pushes, just because we're having to train people on a daily basis and we're saying the same thing over and over and over again. And so that's where we're kind of heading in 2026, is just simplify it a little bit.
Okay. So yeah, I suppose if you had like a megawatt module, then you wouldn't have to do any grading, right? Yeah.
I mean, that would be nice right there if we could somehow come up with that. Just place it directly on a plot of land and call it a day.
I know. I used to wonder if like someday far in the future, we would design our building and then they would just helicopter in a roof that's a giant PV module. You know, like maybe it's got sloping slopes to the different, you know, sloped roof, like residential, whatever. But then I was wondering, what happens if a kid throws a rock at it? Then you're in big trouble.
Got to be on a golf course and hit a golf ball through. I'm a big golfer, so when you're seeing all that, you see the big holes in the middle of the solar panels on people's house and everything like that. So that'd be the one issue if they just craned in this big old solar panel.
And yeah, and then golf balls, and you got hailstones too. And so those are big time in Texas where you're doing some work. What are you guys doing about the hail with the big modules? Are the big modules more susceptible to breakage from hail?
No, it's kind of the same thing as the smaller ones. I mean, we can't plan for like a big hailstorm to come through that's going to knock out everything. It's Mother Nature, so we're not going to be able to say, hey, we're going to protect this and put a tarp over the top or kind of do that. So there's truly nothing that you can do on that side. You just got to plan for it and the overall economics of the project. And if a hailstorm does have to come, then you just got to go replace them, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I guess with a tracker too, you could put it at an angle where it's not going to get hurt as bad.
Yeah, exactly. And you can stow it to whatever degree that you want remotely from your O&M services on that side. So that's kind of the only thing that you can. But I mean, you're always going to have some type of natural disaster that could come through and take out an entire solar field if you want. But
or your
that's
house.
nothing that we can truly plan for. But nothing that you can truly plan for at that moment.
We interrupt you for a very important announcement. Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast has been brought to you by Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast. That's right, Sean White is sponsoring his own podcast, and he wants to remind you to go check out some of his classes. You can go to SolarSEAN, that's SolarSEAN.com, and then click on the links to check out his classes. You can check out his heat spring classes, and you can also hire him to teach classes for you, like at your company, something like that. Now back to the show.
So how do people decide when to stow for hail, like to change the angle so you're not going to get hurt as bad for the hail? It's like, I can't imagine they're going to have hail sensors, So, weather reports, I guess, or...
That's all that you have to look at is basically your weather report, and then you're just going to change the angle that you actually stow at depending on where it's actually coming in at, and you know which way it's kind of blowing towards, but it's kind of just looking at the normal weather channel, and we all picked the wrong career because, 50% of the time the weathermen are wrong and nothing happens, and you have it stowed for no reason, but the other 50%, you just... can't do it. And so it's kind of just up in the air. Nothing that we truly plan for during like that side. We just let them know that they need extra modules just in case.
Maybe a good idea would be to have a new career out there that's like a hail watcher, and you just, when there's bad weather, somebody goes out there and looks for the hail and pushes a button, pushes the
and
stow
just
button.
clicks a button and it just moves it wherever it needs to go on that side.
Yeah.
Hey, sounds like a fun career on that side. You get to travel the entire country just clicking a button on all these random solar sites to make sure that it's stowed the right way.
Yeah, you just have to not like good weather because
I mean, people do chase tornadoes, so there's something out there for everybody. Not my cup of tea, but somebody does it.
Yeah. Yeah, and part of testing PV modules is a 1-inch hailstone at 52 miles an hour. And I've been into some of these places where they do the UL testing, and they'll have the freezer with these little hail balls. It's kind of funny. They probably
I've
use
never
those
seen
for their
any of
drinks
those.
on Fridays,
I know, right? That's how they have a built-in happy hour. No, I'm gonna have to get to one of these module testing companies
Yeah.
and actually see that. That seems like it would be pretty fun to actually look.
Yeah, and so what happens is pretty much every module can take a hailstone at 52 miles an hour that's, an inch across, and it just shatters the hail. Like, it doesn't break the module.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
That would be cool to see right there.
Yeah. And so a lot of it just has to do with the angle and all that. And so that would be like hitting it straight on.
Mm-hmm.
And with golf balls, like you were saying, like how the PV modules break, it does also have to do with the angles and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's only going to be tested you can't test it at every single angle to make sure that it's always going to break. And golf balls are probably a little bit easier to test because they're all going to be somewhat the same size, where hail, you could have a half-inch to a 2-inch ball of hail, and that changes everything completely as well.
That's a lot more mass.
Yeah, so unpredictable, unfortunately.
Yep. Yeah, I remember one time there was like a rooftop array on some big box store next to a driving range, and they were trying to figure out who's responsible, and there was like attorneys trying to, blame each other and stuff like that. And I guess part of it, I think, had to do with who was there first, But still, if you have a rooftop, you shouldn't have to be handling golf balls coming at it,
Yeah.
There's something with that.
Not everybody's a great golfer on that side. So,
Yeah.
no, I love the signs when you're pulling up to a tee box and it's like, hit at your own risk. The other house is X amount of yards away, so be careful, or something like that. But
Yeah.
that's why I'd want to live on the golf course, but at a tee box, so you don't have to worry about people hitting at you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like if you buy a house on a golf course, you're going to get hit by golf balls, that.
Yeah, you got to plan it out a little bit more before you buy that house, to either be downrange at a certain yardage or, like I said, right at the tee box, so you don't have to worry about it.
And I've seen sometimes people like try to put up nets and things like that, which will partially shade the PV.
Yeah, there's some big nets that I've seen on some, but I mean, they're also just a big net that you're trying to cover everything for a small little golf ball.
Yeah.
So it can't really, like I said, it happens. It's going to break. You just got to plan for it on that side in the overall project, because we're not going to stop golfing.
So for your company, AMH Holdings, what is AMH?
That's my wife's initials, actually.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're such a good husband.
Yeah, that's where the AMH comes from on that side. So she's had to deal with me throughout the years. So she's the other co-owner of our entire company. It's me and her she's a majority, so we're a woman-owned company.
Oh, okay. All right, cool.
Gave her the 3 initials that are needed.
There you go. Huh? Okay. So interesting. So it's a woman-owned company. But great. Is she an engineer also?
No, she's not. She helps on the marketing side and just she does some other things on that side. I'm the only engineer in the actual family. Like I said, I have a 5-year-old and a husky on that side. So nope, she helps with our marketing, making sure that we post, helps us come with ideas, and then whenever I just have a question, she helps us actually get a good answer from the non-engineering side of things. Always good to hear that.
Yeah, great.
Since we're kind of rigid on the engineering side.
Okay, good. So what do you see a lot with your utility scale projects as far as string versus central inverters? So a string inverter, smaller, you connect all your strings right to the inverter. Central inverter, really big. You have things like DC combiners, otherwise known as combiner boxes. What's your preference and what do you see the most of?
Pretty much this entire 2025, we pretty much only did central inverters
Okay.
on all of those. So we've probably done maybe 1 or 2 projects on the string inverters, but like I said, it's mainly going to be central inverters. Just makes it a little bit easier because you just have a single spot where your inverters are going to be located at. So I feel like string inverters were pretty big like 5 or 6 years ago, and then central inverters just kind of took over.
Yeah, okay. But if you have something that's smaller than 5 megawatts, then it's difficult to do DC arc fault protection with the strings because you don't get to use Article 691 in the NEC. So,
yeah, those were the only ones that actually had string inverters. We did like a 1 megawatt and it had string inverters.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And what size central inverters are you seeing?
Usually like the 5,000 is what we're doing.
So 5,000 kilowatts, 5 megawatts. So great. Okay.
Yeah. So we spec out whatever it's needed, and it's usually given to us by the developer or the owner that we're working for. And truthfully, it changes pretty much with every revision that we're doing because they either find a better price on a different one, or they bring in another procurement person that has a different relationship. So we just kind of have to change the math and plug in a different one. So between Rev 1 to Rev 5 or 6, it just changes on a base cases.
And then how about for your combiners? How many strings do you typically combine at a combiner?
I want to say I'd have to look at some of them, but I know we're in the 20s depending on which project we're at. I'd have to go on a project by project basis. I kind of just do the final review on that side. I leave the smart electrical guys to handle all of those calculations on that side. I have an electrical degree, but I haven't truthfully been in the math on that portion in a pretty good amount of time on that side.
Yep. So okay, great. And so very good. Any other stuff that you want to cover or talk about?
No, the only thing I got is me and my team put basically an entire document together for anybody that's listening or sees the actual post about it. If they just send me basically a DM of Simplify, I'll shoot them. It's like a 3 to 4 page document of what we're trying to do in 2026 at AMH is just simplifying solar for the regular person. So if they just DM me Simplify, they'll get it shot over to them on that side.
And what did you say, DM Simplify?
If they just send me that word basically in a message
Oh, okay.
on LinkedIn, our team will, through me or through our actual company, we'll just send them a 3 to 4 pager that we put together that helps just simplify the solar for the regular person so they can kind of see it.
Okay, great. And then we will put links where to find you. And of course, there's looking for Phil Horwitch on LinkedIn. But how about something like a website?
Yeah, we're just AMH.holdings.
AMH.holdings. Awesome.
And that's it. And yeah, we're a very easy website on that side. Have no .com or anything like that. So just basically our name, and you can just Google AMH Holdings and it'll bring it up right away for us.
Great. Okay. Well, thanks for being on the podcast, Phil Horwitch. And so hopefully people will come and help you install more gigawatts, or, help you design and engineer more gigawatts. Yeah.
That sounds like a plan. I appreciate you taking the time today to talk with me as well, Sean.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. And thanks for listening to Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast. If you want to find out more, go to SolarSEAN.com. And you can also go there and find out about how to get NABCEP, that's North American Board of Certified Energy Practitioners, certified, which is a very good way to get yourself paid more in this industry, where there's lots of people and lots of competition, and where you can change the world, because solar and storage are the way to make and transmit electricity for a more stable grid. The future's here. Thanks a lot, everybody. Thanks, Phil Horwitch. Ow!